Welcome to the Holistic Success Show. My name is Dr. Robert Puff.
And I'm Elizabeth Lozano.
Today we're going to look at Feng Shui. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically trying to make your work, your office, and your life balanced so everything flows really well. We're going to have a great guest for that.
We're also going to be seeing some clips about exercise and nutrition in regards to being holistically healthy that Dr. Puff has done.
And then we're going to answer one question. Well, answer two, but the first question is going to be about how do you deal with difficult people when they're just difficult? What do you do with that? How do you handle them?
And then the second question is going to be, how do I heal from a bitter divorce?
So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Holistic health and nutrition. What do I mean by that? Our bodies are the summation of what we eat every day, or we are what we eat. So what you put in your body affects who you are and what you are, as far as how your body feels, how it stays healthy or stays unhealthy. And so today I want to talk about how to, one, understand that, and two, perhaps improve that. So the first thing you have to do is say, okay, what do I do for eating? Mostly you're going to get your eating habits from what you were raised with. I was raised in the Midwest, and I was raised on a very typical Midwestern diet, and it included, a lot of meat and a lot of potatoes. And when I moved to California, when my wife first met me, she always shares a story that was pretty funny. We would go out to eat, and like if I went to a restaurant, my vegetables would be French fries, and she I've come a long way since then, but she thought that was pretty funny, and so she often shares that story. But that was my education, that was my upbringing. Like, well, it's a vegetable. That's what you eat with your meat and potatoes. That's what we grew up with, and so wherever you're at, and you may still think that's a typical good thing to eat, but what I want to encourage you to do is realize that your body is affected by what goes inside of it. So if good things are going inside of it, you feel good. If things that aren't so good going inside of you, you don't feel so good. So what are perhaps good things that are going inside of you? Or what are things you could put in good inside your body? And to start with saying, okay, don't judge. This isn't here to judge yourself. That never works. You just want to say, okay, what am I eating today? How much of it was good? What I mean by that is good. Good is vitamins and minerals. We've kind of all heard about that, and enzymes, all these great things that make our bodies healthy, give us energy, and keep us doing well. And what I really encourage people to think about is, live food that isn't cooked, that's fresh, and preferably organic so there aren't pesticides on it. It's just really good for your body. It keeps your body healthy because you have all these minerals and vitamins and nutrition going in your body. It keeps you really, really healthy. And if I can just share what I do, I have come a long ways from my meat and potato upbringing. I eat about 80% raw, and about 20% are whatever I want, basically. And what that entails is, for morning, I have about a half a gallon of organic juice that I make every day, and then I have a pretty large salad for lunch, and then I have some raw nuts kind of throughout the day, kind of sustains me. And then for dinner, what works for me, I typically can eat whatever I want. I usually eat vegan, which means non-animal products, but I can eat steak, I can eat whatever I pretty much want. I just have gotten very used to eating more vegetarian food. But so what's happening is all day long, I don't even have to take vitamins, because all day long I'm just having all these nutrients going through my body. And if you know me, you hopefully get to know me through this show, that I just don't get sick almost ever. I stay very, very healthy. I don't require a lot of sleep, and it's interesting to me, a lot of people that have gone raw, not that you have to go raw because that's kind of extreme, but people have gone raw do it so they can have more energy and can actually have more sleep less. So it's kind of one of the side effects of it for some people. So, but for you, just start with where are you, and saying, yeah, it kind of makes sense. I hear that throughout the grapevine, that eating raw, live food is good for me. So perhaps when you're at a meal, even one day a week, you could say, instead of getting dessert, I'll get some grapes, I'll get some fruit, I'll have a grapefruit. So you slowly are beginning to make change. And if you slowly make change, you keep adding a little bit more. And like me, I read about it. I didn't just overnight start eating raw. I mean, that took me years to get there, But if you start learning about it, educating yourself, watching shows like this, and we're going to have some great guests that will come on here talking about how to eat well and take care of your body. It's part of being holistically healthy. You will begin to improve. And, go at a pace that's comfortable for you. If you dive into it too quickly, you'll jump out. That's what happens with a lot of people. So just slowly improve. Educate yourself and get your body so it becomes healthier and healthier, because your body is what you eat. And if you eat well, your body's going to do well. So I wish you well and peace.
Our first question comes from Lawrence I. from Long Beach, California. And he asks, how do you react with kindness when you receive utterly terrible customer service and you're really frustrated?
Very good question. Very difficult question. But an important question. What do I mean by that? It's going to be difficult, but I have a little trick I think that could help you. Just ask them a question. I've done this many, many times. I'm standing in line, and like you, Larry, I've faced this very difficult customer service person. And I'll just say, I try to say very kindly, it's hard. I say, is everything all right? Is everything okay? And they usually are taken back by that. And I say, why? I say, well, it seems like, you're kind of upset, and I don't feel like I've done anything to offend you. So I just wanted to see if everything was okay. And I've experienced many, many times, most times when I ask that question, what I get back is, their boyfriend just broke up with them, their father's sick, they're worried about their son who's sick at school, and they have to go pick him up. Something is wrong, and that's why they're acting that way. And
or sometimes maybe they just had somebody who was rude to them.
Could leave a better absolutely. That's a very good point, Elizabeth. But they're acting that way towards you for a reason. Now, if you had offended them, if you were saying hurry up or being rude, you need to own that. But if you don't feel like you've done something wrong and they're not doing a very good job with you, it's very unlikely it's about you. And they're suffering. And what can make you more tender towards them and kind, even if you say nothing, but if you can really understand they're acting that way because of pain inside of them, emotional pain, something is wrong. And I think that just helps take off your edge. Can I share a story? It's a really good story. There was once a man, he was in a subway, and he had 2 kids, and they were terrible, awful. I mean, they were awful. New York subway, and they were just awful. And finally, a guy came up to him and said, can you do something about your kids? And the guy would look down, then he looked up and said, well, I know, I don't know what to do. We just came from the hospital, and their mother died. I just don't know what to do. So understand there's a lot of pain out there, and be gentle. And if you just say nothing, that's okay. But try to not take an eye for an eye, because that really does make the whole world blind. Instead, reach out with kindness or reach out with silence. Just politely say thank you and don't do anything. And realize that they probably are suffering. When people are mean, they're suffering. So why add to their suffering, and why cause blindness in the world?
That's really great advice. And on the other hand, if you're really struggling with anger because this person is just really setting you off and ticking you where, it's just really getting to you, use some of those old 101 anger management techniques. Take a really deep breath, take a couple of deep breaths, maybe count to 10, really work on yourself before you respond to them, because responding to them in anger really isn't going to get anything across. And if you really feel that you've been taken advantage of, or they're just, you're not getting where you need to get, ask to speak with a supervisor. And that takes a little bit of guts to do that sometimes, just like it even does to say, hey, what's going on? But it's important that you're not taken advantage of either. You set boundaries in your own life as well, but you don't need to be rude and be like, give me your manager, let me talk to your supervisor. It's like, can I please speak with your supervisor? And if they start up or whatever, just say, you maintain calm and you say, can I please speak with your supervisor? And then you deal with it from there. And usually the person that's head up will usually be apologetic for what's going on, and then maybe they can handle the situation. And it's not that you're trying to ruin this person's life or, say, oh, it was horrible, awful. But, you set boundaries, take care of yourself, but also examine your own behavior.
Yeah, really look at that and try to understand how the world works. And it works better when we're kind. So be kind and, and see what response you get from that. You might be surprised.
And good luck, Lawrence. I hope you don't run into too many of those people.
For sure.
This week's guest is Dr. Anna Maria Prezio. She's a Feng Shui consultant, and it's her mission to help people gain the knowledge and tools in Feng Shui to create positive relationships, wealth, health, and creativity in their lives. So welcome, Dr. Anna Maria Prezio. It's very nice to have you here. Please tell us a little bit more about what you do and who you are.
I'm Dr. Anna Maria Prezio. I'm a Feng Shui consultant. I'm also a coach and an author. I'm just gotten a #1 bestseller for Confessions of a Feng Shui Ghostbuster. And
You want to show them your book? I think you brought that with you.
here we are. You can get this on Amazon or Lulu.com, or you can go to my website at www.prezio.com.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about the work that you do.
Okay. I do reconstruction. I do reconstruction spiritually, physically, emotionally. When a builder builds a house, he has to look at every aspect of that particular piece of earth or plot. And so that's what I do with a house. I take a
Okay.
look at it from the inside out and the outside in.
So do you
to
go even
determine.
before they've built the house or in the process of building the house?
The best time to call is right before you build. When you're in the planning stages, when you're working with an architect, and I've worked with architects to create a harmonious house. And so that's the best time to call me, because I can look at whether the land is appropriate for the person who's going to build on that piece of land. And I look at direction,
Okay.
whether the house should sit east, west, north, south. All the directions are very, very significant when you're building a house.
So Feng Shui is a lot more than just like how you color, the colors that you choose, or decorating your house or placing furniture. It actually has to do even with how your house is built and the directions that it's facing, which I think is important for people to understand that.
Oh, yes. It's very important to understand that it's not just placing objects in a specific place to give you harmony and peace and serenity. It's very important to know that Feng Shui is a very layered approach to everything in your life to balance it out, mind, body, spirit. And so once you have that collectiveness, then you can have a very fruitful and abundant life. And that's my goal for my clients.
Okay, so speaking about abundance in a person's life, how would you go about helping somebody, let's say they already live in a home and it's already been built, how would you go about helping somebody to create, the health, the wealth, the happiness, and, success in the relationships? Or is it each individual thing you look at separately, or how would you go about helping somebody with that?
That's a good question, because when I'm called in, usually I'm called in because there's an issue.
Okay, like what?
There's an issue. There's a relationship issue,
Okay.
or a money issue, or a health issue. And I look at it in priority order. If people call me and they say, oh, I just want to make a lot of money and I want to win the lottery, then I'm very skeptical about that. And I'm not someone who does that for a living.
Okay. So, tell us a little bit. I mean, I've heard about Feng Shui in regards to relationships, and actually, if you've seen the movie The Secret or read the book, it talks about that. It talks about how you should, possibly have your house, or what do you think the proper Feng Shui is to have a healthy, positive romantic relationship? What are something that either in the bedroom or in the house that you can suggest for somebody who would like to have a healthy relationship?
Okay. If they're having a relationship issue or they want a relationship to be optimum, then I find out, and there is a place in the house where they might be arguing. So let's say they argue in the kitchen all the time.
Okay.
So I'll take a look at the kitchen and I'll say, okay.
Are most of your clients pretty cognizant of that? Like they realize that we mostly fight in the kitchen?
Most of the time I'm educating them on what I do.
Okay.
And they learn a little more every time.
They have like a better awareness of stuff too.
Yes, they
Okay.
do. But most of the time when people call me, they do have an understanding that Feng Shui can help them, or they wouldn't be calling me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or it's a referral from someone who I've helped, and they're the best referrals. And so in terms of relationship, it might be that the bed is in the wrong place in that bedroom.
So would that
So-
depend on, just even how the house is faced and everything? So it's not necessarily like it needs to be in the center, there needs to be room on either side. Because that was something that I had heard, if you want, don't have your bed up against the wall because you're not having room for the other person, or, if you have your closet and it's got all this, all your clothes and you have no room for anybody else to come in there.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true. You have to make room for the other person. And that's the law of attraction. A lot of things that occur in Feng Shui are not just psychological, but the intention that you place on something is very, very important. And the more intention you place on that particular area of your life, naturally it's the law of attraction is going to go to work for you. Now, the law of attraction also works in very strange ways. I have a client who hadn't gotten an acting job in a long time. So he called me in and I said, look, here's what you do. If you have a picture of this person or a scene that you would like to be in or see yourself working with him, put it on your wall, and the first thing when you get up in the morning is look at it and put your intention on it. And every morning you're going to do this for 30 days, and then you're going to call me and you're going to let me know what happened. Well, wouldn't you know it? It wasn't even 30 days. It might have been like 28 days or something like that. And he called me and he got a part with that actor.
Wow.
It wasn't a major part.
Yeah.
It was a small scene, but
nonetheless,
it catapulted him to the next level.
Wow.
So that's
amazing.
what that can do.
Now, how do colors affect us? And what colors would you recommend for somebody who's trying to create, balance and success and happiness in their life?
Well, I have an ebook on my site that you can get for free. And that will help you along to find out not only your own personal enhancement colors, which we all need.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is red.
Okay.
So I wear red to enhance me. When I walk into a room and I'm wearing red, I'm present.
Mm-hmm.
And people will hear me and what I
How
have
does
to
one
say.
go about figuring out what their color is or what a good color is for them?
Everyone has an element that's in excess or that's less than or diminished. So what you need to do is there is a formula in that book
Mm-hmm.
that you can figure out for yourself based on your date of birth, and another equation that gives you your enhancement color,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll tell you what element and what color you're needing.
Okay.
So
Pretty interesting.
yeah, it is. It's very interesting because color, red is fire. It's all elemental. Every single color is reflected on an element on the chart, on the color chart.
So it's not like you can just say, oh, use this color. Every person, and what will benefit them is different.
It's different. And it's also different when you use it in a house for your walls, for instance, lines, designs. If it's a wave design, of course, that's water.
Mm-hmm.
In Feng Shui, that denotes water. So where you place that design is very important in the house. So someone once said to me that if you walk into a house and it looks like it's feng shuied, it's not.
So I have a question for you. How did you get involved in Feng Shui?
My background is in marketing.
Okay.
I was a marketing executive in
Wow.
the corporate structure. I taught entrepreneurship. I did a lot of corporate things prior to getting into the metaphysical aspect of my life. But, my slogan is anything beautiful brings in good chi. And that's what I'm all about. That's the Venus in me. That's the quality of life that I want to engender in people. I want to make them healthy and feel happy and self-fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is one way that really helps people to do that.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Your
Yeah.
job must be so wonderful to do then, is you're helping people to bring that into their lives.
Yeah, it's so satisfying. And I was the worst skeptic you could ever meet. Because
That's
I
good to
wanted
hear, because I think
proof.
some people are. So, if you were a skeptic.
I wanted proof. I wanted proof that this works. And every time it worked, it surprised me. Feng Shui is where the life force, the qi, comes from. And qi is energy.
Okay.
And it's the perfect energy that we want in our life, in our body, in our minds, in our spirit. And so that's what I would like to create for people on a large scale.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for being on the show.
You're
Please tell
welcome.
us, how we can get a hold of you, or how, if somebody wants to have a consultation with you, or, coaching from you, and also where they can get the book. I know you had
Okay.
mentioned that earlier, but if you can just tell us where we
Okay.
can find you.
Great. Prezio, Prezio.com, or you can reach me at www.fengshuiharmony.net, or you can call me at 818-980-6861.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being on the show. It's
Thank
great
you
to
for
have
having
you.
me. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Holistic health and exercise. What are the components of exercise? I really advocate 3 parts to it. The first one is weight bearing. And what do I mean by that? Is weight bearing is where you basically are putting weight on your bones so they stay healthy and you stay fit and vibrant. And it's interesting, there's some women in China that, all day long they're carrying, heavy weights on their head, and they walk up and down hills and through the village, and they have such a small amount of, actually I don't think they have any, osteoporosis, because they are taking good care of their body through weight bearing. Walking is a really great way of doing that, going to the gym, lifting a little bit of weights, but it keeps your bones and muscles strong. And if you don't do that, if I can share a sad story, my mom, she died several years ago, but she died pretty much of osteoporosis. And what I mean by that is, later in her life, her bones just would break very quickly and very easily because she just had very weak bones, and she hadn't done a lot of exercise. She had smoked when she was younger, and then she didn't do a lot of exercise. She started to, but it wasn't enough for her. So she had a lot of health problems. And you see that with people, as they get older, their bones break very easily. A lot of times when a hip breaks, it isn't that you fall and you break your hip, it's you break your hip, then you fall. So just be aware of that weight bearing is great to keep those bones strong throughout your life. Okay, that's the first one, weight bearing. The second one is cardiovascular. And what I mean by that means getting that heart beating up, getting it to a higher rate. So when you get your heart beating fast, it's really, really good for you. So do something that you're riding a bike, going to the gym, walking briskly, swimming. All these things are really great ways to get that heart beating. Because what studies have found, what researchers have found, is that people that exercise, particularly like runners, though their heart rate is pretty high when they're running, the rest of the time, their heartbeat is actually much lower than the average person. So your heart becomes calmer. So it just is good for our bodies to exercise and get that heart beating. It's also really good for your weight too, keep your body trim and fit, get that heart beating. So that's part two. Number one, again, weight bearing. Number two, cardiovascular. And the third one I call stretching. And a lot of people forget the stretching part. And what do I mean by that? That's basically keeping your body limber and loose. Because if your body's limber and loose, you're just going to feel good throughout your life. You're going to have less aches and pains. And you won't, as you get older, you won't get stiff. You stay pretty limber. I do some form of yoga or stretching every single day because I love meditation, and I sit for quite a while, and it allows me to sit for a while there without getting my muscles getting tight. And just again to share a personal story, because I really work on staying limber. Two times it happened to me twice. I was on vacation. I was working out at the local little gym in the town I was visiting, and I was doing ab work where I had my legs on this bar, and I was sitting high up, and I was just sitting on this bench behind me, and I had a 45-pound weight, so my back was just free space going back and forth, if you can envision it. So my butt's here, my feet are hooked here to keep me from falling off, and I'm just hanging out in outer space, or in space, with this with a 45-pound bell, a bar on me, and the leg thing broke on me because it wasn't a very nice gym, and I came crashing to the ground. I could have easily broken my back, serious injuries, and I was actually fine. I was a little bit cut up, but it happened to me twice, and if I hadn't been limber, I would have been pretty beaten up and pretty sore. I could have injured my back. But I think taking time to be flexible, taking time to have stretching involved in your daily routine really is just good for you. It really prevents injuries. So I encourage you to do that. So to recap, take care of the weight bearing. Do something that you're physically putting weight on. Walking's great. Next one is cardiovascular, get that heart beating. And the last one is stretching. So I wish you well and peace.
Our next question comes to us from Kim P., who's in Brea, California. And she writes in, I had a very bitter divorce and am still recovering from the emotional scars from that relationship. What suggestions do you have to help me become more aware and keep focused on myself to gain awareness and heal?
First off, Kim, I'm really sorry you had a bitter divorce. Divorces are hard, and when they're bitter, it can cause a lot of pain in you. I just want to give you my sympathy and empathy because they're very hard on us. And with that, you need to heal. You need to take time to heal. And I don't know how long you were married, and it could have been a short time or a long time, but it just takes a while to heal from things. And when it's painful, I think what's hard for people is how long it can take. But if you spend a little bit of time every day, healing, spending time to talk about it, process it,
and allowing yourself to grieve as well.
Right, absolutely, and be angry. Using appropriate skills for anger that we'll be discussing in this show. You'll learn that the healing will come. And I often use the analogy. Imagine there's this huge, like 500-gallon jar, and there are marbles in it. And every time you take some time to heal from your divorce, a marble goes out and it never goes back in. You keep taking them, and one day magically they're all gone. And they will be gone. No matter how horrible your marriage was, you can heal 100% from that. I really can guarantee you. But you have to take the time, and when those feelings arise, take time for those feelings. Heal them. Don't be bitter towards him, to his face, but make sure you are allowing that anger to come out of you through appropriate ways. What I prefer is called anger work. We'll be talking about that in other episodes. But learn about healing, watch the show, and you really will learn about how it's very important to be in touch with your feelings, express them in healthy ways, so you can have an absolutely wonderful life. Because if you don't, they won't go away, and it just gets infected and ultimately will make you sick inside. So take time for your feelings. Take time for yourselves. Take time for yourself and heal. It really matters.
And you're often going to hear us talk about self-care, and this really, pertains to you. It pertains to everybody, but especially when you're recovering from anything. You're getting out of a divorce, you've lost somebody close to you, because that's ultimately what it is. But even if you've lost somebody to death, or, whatever circumstances are, take care of yourself. If you start feeling depressed, you start feeling down, instead of just cuddling up and going to sleep, do something proactive. Go for a walk, talk with a friend, pick up the phone and talk about it. There's also just divorce recovery workshops you can go to. You can learn how to just express your feelings through paint, through different forms of art. You could dance. There's so many different ways. And we would just really encourage you that self-care is so, so important.
That reminds me of a story. Years ago, I had a man I knew. He was a friend of mine, and he went through what I would call a very bitter divorce. And he just didn't like the pain of it. So what he did, anytime he started feeling depressed, he went for a really hard run. In his case, he just ran and ran around until he felt better. And what he found was, by doing that, every time he did that, he kept getting better and better and better. So discover ways that you can heal, perhaps getting a punching bag, getting part of a support group, finding ways to appropriately express your pain, express your anger, and get well and heal. You can heal, though, 100%. If you haven't healed 100%, then you just need to spend more time, because it can go away completely.
And I don't know if you have kids, Kim, but this is an important part for us to talk about. We can say a lot of unkind things that maybe we're feeling, or may even be true. There may be some true things that you're feeling, but don't let your kids know about those things. Don't let your kids be that emotional support for you, because they are really having a hard time with that too. And you need to really monitor, be aware, as you were asking about, of the things that you're saying and how much that's trickling in. But, you'll hear again and again us talking about self-care, and that relates even to you as a parent, if you are a parent. But just, be careful with that. And also, an eye for an eye, saying one thing, even if, let's say the person's saying something negative about you, it doesn't help to go and say something negative about them. In fact, what's going to help you to grow is for you to process that feeling, like, oh, what a jerk for him to say that about me. And you go deal with that. You go deal with that emotion. Go scream in your pillow, or go, punch on the bed, or a punching bag if you have one.
And I'm going to say something that's going to be controversial here. Some people will disagree with this, and that's okay. But what I found in my experience is, you kind of know you're done, you're healed, when there's a sense of forgiveness inside of you towards that other person. And mind you, that can take years, sometimes decades, depending upon how incredibly awful it was. But that's a sign of ultimate healness. Not that you have a relationship with them, but you reach a point where you say, I forgive them for what they've done. I really have healed from it thoroughly, and I'm ready now to move on in my life and really have a wonderful life.
And if you look at it as a sense of, you're letting go of that power that they have over you, because in a sense it's like a power that they have over you, your emotions, you're feeling all this and that. So that forgiving is just letting go. It's not about building a relationship with them again or anything like that. It's just about letting go of that energy that you're holding on to. And
then be free, Kim.
Good luck, Kim. This week's quote, Dr. Puff shared with me, so thank you, Dr. Puff, for this. Of all the things that can have an effect on our future, I believe personal growth is the greatest. We can talk about sales growth, profit growth, asset growth, but all of this probably will not happen without personal growth. And that's by Jim Rohn, who's an author and motivational speaker. Thank you for joining us on the Holistic Success Show, the show for people who aim to be happy, healthy, and successful. But do you know that we cannot do this without you?
So send us your questions, and our way of saying thank you for participating and being part of our show is we'll let you go to our bookstore, and you can pick out anything you want, a CD, a DVD, a book. We'll try to autograph it to you and mail it to you, and because we really appreciate you being part of the show, and your questions help thousands of other viewers out there, because they will be struggling with the same things you are.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next week.
Thank you, and peace.